Now that's a good question. Hello, students. Have you missed me? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am starting a new series here on the YouTube channel that I'm calling Good Questions. And if you've been in my classroom over the last 30 years, you know that as a science teacher, I encourage you asking good questions, because as a scientist, that is the first skill that you need to develop, to ask good questions. And by asking questions, you will learn more. It is indisputable. Finding the answers to your good questions is so vital that over the last 30 years of teaching middle school science, I have encouraged students to ask good questions. And one way that I've done that is by pausing in the middle of class, pondering, and having the entire class say, "Good question." And then I throw the book at them. And what I mean by that simply is this. Every year I have a good question book. And over the course of the year, as I throw the book at students in order to earn bonus points for good questions, they write them down. And I have to tell you, I have collected all of these books. This was the Good Question book, which is completely filled with thousands of good questions asked by students. And that's just last year. This was the year before. This was the year before that. And I think you're catching on. I have a whole collection of good question books filled with literally tens of thousands of good questions. And so starting this week, I'm going to be going through some of these books and asking some of the good questions that were written down by students of mine. And then I'll take a few moments to answer those good questions, and we'll have a brief video, I'm thinking, on a weekly basis. So I hope you tune in every week as you get your updates on YouTube and you listen in. And perhaps if you've been one of my students over the last 30 years, you might just hear your good question being answered. So we're going to start this week with kind of a rhetorical question, which means I'm not really going to answer it, because sometimes I've awarded students by asking just really good, thoughtful, and even funny questions. So, as we begin here today, let me share with you that this question was asked of a 7th grader of mine last year, and her name was Cassidy. And Cassidy asked, if people in the Stone Age wrote on stone, then did people in the Ice Age write on ice? Now, think about that. I think it's rather amusing, thoughtful, and a perceptive question as well. So I'm not going to answer that particular question now, but next week we are going to be getting to questions that I will attempt to answer a little bit more thoughtfully and elaborate on as we continue to explore this new series called Good Question. So until next week, think about questions to ask yourself, and feel free to include them in the discussion below. Bye-bye.